From last week's Charleston City Council meeting to the very latest with development in the Maryville-Ashleyville neighborhoods of West Ashley to Greg Mullen stepping down as Charleston's police chief, I sit down with City of Charleston Council member Mike Seekings for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. Councilman Seekings.
Yes, sir.
So good to see you again.
Good to see you. It's not been that long.
Well, I know. Yeah. Well, let me jump to the obvious. Maryville-Ashleyville. I know you don't represent that area at all, but we had heard the news about possible development from Crescent Homes coming in.
So let me say a little bit about that. That actually used to be on the very edge of my former district because I represented a good bit of West Ashley right up until the Maryville-Ashleyville area. And I was at the meeting on Saturday, all 3 hours of it, and it was really instructive to see, and heartwarming actually, to see a neighborhood that is historic in nature, like that area, come out and sort of fight for what they think is right and what they need, which is a continued viable existence of an old, historic, and very vibrant neighborhood. So, look, we're getting besieged on all edges in this town by development, and to see people go out there and fighting for a neighborhood is heartening. I really, I walked away from there thinking the future there is vibrant and vital and bright, notwithstanding the fact there will be some changes out there. And look, one of the things that's really good out there is they've got good zoning. Single family resident really helps them. So it was an interesting morning on Saturday. That spilled into the afternoon, as you know.
You talk about interesting. Let me take you back to last week's Tuesday's City Council meeting.
You're going to give me some tough flashbacks. It was a long meeting. I sat there. I remember I sat down at 4 o'clock and got up about 10. So it was 6 hours. So let's not recreate that.
But let me tell you this, according to the Charleston City paper's Dustin Waters, he wrote this on June 21st. He said this, quote, Councilman James Lewis submitted a resolution calling on the city to hire a specialized firm to audit the police department, modeling the assessment after one requested by the city of Madison, Wisconsin. As you know, that resolution was shot down.
Well, first off, the resolution changed. It wasn't what was in our packet. There were some changes along the way, and Councilmember Lewis, I think, had the best interests of his constituents in the city at heart. And I agree with him and others that we need to do a look at all our departments at any given time, at any given space. And the police department is no exception and no different. And we're there. We're going to move forward with an audit of all departments, includes a bias audit in the police department. And I am committed to that, as is everybody. But to sort of set aside and start a process that's biased going in on a bias audit seems to me to be a little bit out of the realm of reality. We know how to do an audit, and if that audit is not to our satisfaction or the people who elected us satisfaction, we'll hear about it, we'll do something about it.
And I know Keith Warren said right after the mayor spoke that politics won that.
I heard him say that, and I have nothing but respect for Councilmember Waring. I sit next to him as I did with his father for many years. I just don't think politics won that night. I think actually the whole process that evening, we all kind of lost a little bit of ourselves in it. And I think we need to take a step back and say, look, we have an active police department that is out there protecting us every day. It's our number one service that we provide is public safety. And if the message out there is that we are not providing even across the board public safety, I don't buy that. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. And we'll find out about that in due time.
The numbers. The city paper writes this. Technumber says that violent crime is down 6% over the last year, and citizen complaints against officers have declined from 33 complaints in 2014 to 15 complaints in 2016. The mayor applauded the department's early implementation of body cameras and the continued work of the illumination project. 33 to 15 tells you what, Mike?
Well, you throw out a lot of numbers there, and I listened to the mayor's talk about that went on for some time in city council chambers. And you know, metrics are one thing, numbers are one thing, but we're living, breathing human beings in 3 dimensions. And look, violent crime is down. That's a fantastic thing for a city that is of 130,000 residents, 6 million visitors. Think of the challenges that presents to a police force that is paid at the rate of an officer or a police chief for a city of 130,000, but they're policing 6 million. That's big city stuff. And so those numbers tell me that we have a good handle on what's going on in our community. You know, police are there for a number of things. Certainly crime prevention is one of them, but even a police officer, the best police officer in the world, can't prevent everything. And we're realistic to know about that. What they can do is have even-handed policing practices and make sure that they get out ahead of the issues in the community. And I feel very comfortable that under the leadership of Chief Mullen, who I think has done a great job in the city of Charleston for the last 10 years, we're there. Does it mean we're perfect? No, none of us are. So what the numbers tell me is for a city of our size, and it's not just the population,
Right.
but the visitors that come,
Sure.
we're in a pretty good place, but we can always be better. I want to comment on the body cameras. Again, nothing is a panacea for anything in the realm of public safety and policing, but body cameras are a very good thing for the protection of our residents,
Right.
for visitors,
Right.
for our police officers, and they record the moments. So just another tool, a very good tool, by the way, in our arsenal for public safety.
Let me turn to Greg Mullen. Obviously, as you mentioned, he spent 10 years as police chief.
10 years, the entire time I've been on city council, he's been my police chief, not just a city council member, but I've lived in the city of Charleston for over 30 years now, and he's been there 1/3 of the time. And as you know, I have nothing but
Right.
admiration and respect for Chief Mullen. I hate to see him go.
Okay, so let me stop you there. There's going to be a search for a new police chief as well as fire chief. Do you guys want to go back to the drawing board with the public safety search, or do you want to go the regular route with
Well, that's a very good and fair and legitimate question,
Okay.
and one that I think we need to talk to our citizens about.
Okay.
As you know, that I thought in theory that a public safety director for a city like Charleston was a very good idea, considering the number of calls we have upon both our police and our fire department. To have someone who's an administrator of both probably makes some sense. I would like to see us revisit this whole notion of the structure of public safety. A public safety director make great sense right now, and in fact, the public safety director, either permanently or on an interim, as we go through the search for both a police and a fire chief, may be the very good and perfect resolution. I'm open to that. I'd like to have us talk about it. I don't want to rush to it, but we can't leave the city without leadership in those two key positions for long. And so while we don't need to rush through the process, we need to do it with all deliberate speed.
James Island. The following headline of Post Inquiry on June 23rd said this following quote, James Island development moratorium goes too far. Charleston Planning Commission says. Has it gotten too far?
Well, as you know, we voted unanimously at City Council to put a moratorium in place and then to send it to the Planning Commission. I think we need to listen to the Planning Commission. I think we need to go back and look at that moratorium and see what it does and what it doesn't do, who it affects, who it doesn't affect, and what long-term benefit there will be. A 6-month moratorium in an area where there's 10,000 plus residents and that has been the subject of governments fighting with each other rather than planning for them over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, it's going to take more than 6 months to undo all that and figure that all out. I want to make sure that whatever we do, whether it's a continued moratorium or a plan and call to action now for some zoning relief, we do it in a way that fits James Island, and I'm committed to that.
You guys have found the final $2 million for the new transportation center in North Charleston.
Yeah, but CARTA, as you know, is rolling along, no pun intended,
Right.
very nicely. We're out of debt. We're running on a balanced budget. We've been under federal mandate now to build the intermodal center for about 10 years. We've been scrambling to do it. We've been struggling to do it, but it's something that needs to be done. The area, the city of Charleston, the county of Charleston, the Charleston region is going to get its first ever intermodal center. It's going to be in North Charleston, but will serve Charleston,
Right.
North Charleston, and the Tri-County area. I'm excited about that, and one of the things I'm very proud of is that we at CARTA sat down, tightened our belts, looked to our budget, and we are not borrowing another dime to finish this project. And it is a project, Quintin, that has been on the books, as you know, for almost 15 years now,
Right.
and it is going to have the groundbreaking will be in the next 60 days. So look to it for an intermodal center, which I think will be the beginning of many good transit and transportation projects going forward. As you know, absent a trolley system in the 1920s and 1930s, which was privately run,
Right.
this region has never had a large-scale transportation project ever. We're starting from a blank slate, so what I like to call low country rapid transit, others call bus rapid
Right.
transit, is coming. Other things will be coming. We've got to look to the water, to the ferries. I think we'll see a whole bunch of things happening. So much need, much desire, a lot of call for it. So public transit is coming to this area. I encourage people to get behind it, to learn about what we have and what we don't have, and to make some good, hard decisions about what they will and won't support as we spend tax dollars, including but not limited to the half-cent sales tax, which is about to come online, was online, but is really going to get funded in the next year. So a lot cooking on the transportation side. I'm proud to be a part of that.
including Rivers Avenue Park and Ride Lot.
So Carta bought our first real hard real estate asset is the Rivers Avenue Park and Ride Lot. It's 5.6 acres right there, which is already active, as you know.
Right.
The Kmart, the Super Kmart, which is closed down. We bought the lot just to the south of that. We haven't closed on it yet, but we will. So we'll have a park and ride lot there. We're working with Secretary Hall to identify DOT properties that we can turn into park and ride lots. The city, we had a meeting sitting right at this table on Friday with city officials and other stakeholders to look at areas in the city for park and ride for specifically hospitality workers, but others too. So lots coming in terms of centralized public transit opportunities so people don't have to descend on the peninsula all at one time. And as you know, that's just not a long-term viable model. With all the other things we have going on, the 6 million tourists, the 40,000 hospitality workers, the guests that come here, the people who live here,
Right.
who we can't forget about. You know, my district is downtown Charleston, and the people who live here have a lot happening around them. And one of the things we need to do is diffuse some of that. And giving people opportunity to succeed in public transit, in particular, is a very good way to so do that.
Councilman Mike Seekins, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.